Hey, what up, YouTube? Here with a review video for WrestleMania 38. Now, I'm going to review day one and then day two. I'm going to talk about all the matches on the card from the opening match all the way to the main event, alright? So, day one of WrestleMania, the opening match for day one was the Usos defending their SmackDown Tag Team titles against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Now, from what I remember, me being a wrestling fan, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, right? For any pay per view, but especially big pay per views like WrestleMania, right? The opening matches are always supposed to be the bar burners. It's like the standard to the pay per view. It sets the pace for the whole event. And with all due respect, this is just my opinion. The Usos versus Nakamura and Boogs could have been a match on any given episode of SmackDown. And that was your opening match for the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. No, it was like any other ordinary match. The Usos defeated Nakamura and Boogs to retain their titles. Um, the only highlight to this match was this is all kayfabe aside. Speedy recoveries to Rick Boogs. He was trying to pull off a spot where he would carry both the Usos, but the weight was too much. It collapsed on him, and he torn his quad. So Rick Boogs is injured, and he's gonna be out for a while. So speedy recoveries to him. But like I said, this match, it was like whatever. Anyways, moving along, the second match of day one of WrestleMania 38, you had Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. I didn't even know Happy Corbin was undefeated ever since he became Happy Corbin, but their rivalry been going on for a minute now. And they've been building it up, right? This has been, a rivalry that's been airing on TV for some time. So they had some build up heading into WrestleMania 38. Now, this match was, it was alright. It was a few highlights in this match. You had not only Happy Corbin losing his undefeated streak, but Drew McIntyre is the first ever superstar to kick out of the end of the days. That's Happy Corbin's finishing move. No one in history since Baron Corbin or Happy Corbin, whatever you want to call them, has been in the WWE ever kicked out of his finishing move up until Drew McIntyre did this past Sunday at this past Saturday at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre won via hitting the Claymore. Then I guess Madcap tried to sneak up on Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre's got that William Wallace sword that he carries around. I guess that's supposed to be his Scottish warrior gimmick where he pays tribute to his heritage, or whatever. He chased Madcap out of the ring. Madcap had a failed attempt at sneaking up on Drew, and Drew just chopped down the whole ring by hitting the top rope with the sword, and the ring got fucked up, and they had to fix that up, and then I was like, okay, whatever. It's like it's like, is that supposed to be a WrestleMania moment? I don't know, dude. Anyways, moving along though, the third matchup on the card. This was the first celebrity match. There was a lot of celebrities featured on this year's WrestleMania. They had Logan Paul and The Miz teaming up to take on the Mysterios. This was a good, entertaining match, man. Logan Paul, he's got a athletic background. He was a good wrestler, one of the best in high school or whatever. I don't know too much about Logan's background, but I know that, dude's an athletic guy, and he's been training boxing. Him and his brother been training boxing for some time now. He got in there with Floyd Mayweather, his fights with KSI. He's a very influential figure with with everybody, because social media is a part of the world whether we like it or not. So he's a a big figure when it comes to that that field, and he's a well recognizable name. Celebrities, this been always a complaint, especially within the hardcore wrestling fan base. They always got complaints about, celebrities getting too much shine at WrestleMania, but celebrities been a part of WrestleMania ever since WrestleMania became a thing. You get what I'm saying? This is a part of the attraction. Like they're big names, they got a big following, that equals draw. And Logan Paul performed. Whether y'all like it or not, he performed. I was impressed. He hit the three amigos, then his frog splash. Like I said, dude was a good wrestler coming up. I'm talking about like Olympic wrestling. You know what I'm saying? And then in pro wrestling at WrestleMania when he got ended, you know what I'm saying? Dude looked like he could hang. And yeah, Logan Paul and The Miz, they picked up the win over the Mysterios to my surprise. I thought the Mysterios were going to win, but hey, The Miz won by hitting the skull-crushing finale on Rey Mysterio, picking up the win for his team. Then a surprise happened following that match while Logan and Miz were celebrating. The Miz will hit the skull-crushing finale on Logan Paul. I don't know if this was supposed to be a face turn for The Miz, because the fans in Arlington were going crazy. They, like in a good way, they were cheering for The Miz for hitting the skull-crushing finale on Logan Paul after they won. That match, I'll give that shit, like a 3.5 out of a 5. That's how I rate it. That's pretty high ratings, and yeah, it passed my expectations. With that being said, moving along, the fourth matchup on the card was for the Raw Women's Championship between the champion, Becky Lynch, taking on Bianca Belair. Now, they've been building this story up since Bianca, I think she was a SmackDown Women's Champion then. She lost the title to Becky Lynch, the returning Becky Lynch, at SummerSlam of last year. It was like a 13-second match, or maybe even shorter than that. And there was a lot of complaints, coming from the fans. And, finally they had their match at WrestleMania. Both them girls performed. Becky and Bianca, they can both go. And they've been building it up, at least for the storyline wise. Like, they've been building it up very much so for this meeting at WrestleMania 38. I think it was one of the more better built up matches on the card by far. Bianca won finally. She gets her leg back, and now she's your new Raw Women's Champion. I get that matchup a 3.5 out of 5 as well. And Bianca, once again, back-to-back WrestleMania moments. You know what I'm saying? Last year, she defeated Sasha Banks to, become a SmackDown Women's Champion. This year, she dethrones Becky Lynch to become the Raw Women's Champion. Now, the next matchup on the card for day one of WrestleMania, what was it? Give me a second, y'all. Yeah, I got it now. It was Seth Rollins versus a mystery opponent of Vince McMahon's choosing, and that mystery opponent that turned out to be Cody Rhodes, like most of us were expecting. And yeah, they didn't do no bullshit where they had him dress up as Stardust or anything like that. There's been a lot of troll memes going around within the wrestling fan base, saying, oh, it's not going to be Cody Rhodes, it's going to be Stardust, or, Cody Rhodes might not show up at all. It might be Elias or Goldberg or Shane McMahon, some bullshit, some shenanigans that WWE is known to pull to upset, the hardcore fan base, at least for, some time now. But ever since Cody Rhodes ain't signed with AEW again, which is a company that he helped found, that's why a lot of people, including myself, were surprised that Cody Rhodes did not sign with AEW. But yeah, for sure, he's back in WWE. as shown on WrestleMania Day 1, um, on Saturday, this past Saturday. Um, he made his return in front of, over 50,000 people, the biggest stage in this industry, WrestleMania, in his father's home state of Texas, AT&T Stadium. It don't get no bigger than that to, make your comeback to the WWE. And then he's in there with a perfect opponent like Seth freaking Rollins. Like, Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers, best in-ring workers in the game right now, for sure. Like, I think, he's my favorite wrestler. I think, he's, in my opinion, he's the best wrestler, like, overall, like, today. Like, Roman Reigns, like, with his reign right now, he's for sure, like, the hottest wrestler. But, like, talking about, like, just, everything wise, like, I think Seth Rollins is the best, wrestler in the world today. That's my opinion. And Cody Rhodes, he can go too. And this was by far the best matchup on the card for WrestleMania 38 Day 1. Cody Rhodes won, rightfully so. I thought that was the right winner to book. Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads simultaneously, I think 3 times, and then he even hit his father's finishing move, the bionic elbow, and he picked up the win. Get that match like a 4 out of a 5. And yeah, the crowd took Cody Rhodes in very well. And yeah, we'll see how Cody Rhodes fits into today's WWE roster. And hopefully they catapult him to become world champion. I'm going to make a review on the Raw after Mania. And yeah, hopefully Cody Rhodes, climbs up to the top of the ranks to, get that brass ring. That the WWE always talks about, because, Cody Rhodes, this is probably the, biggest pickup for WWE for this year thus far. I don't see WWE signing anybody this year bigger than Cody Rhodes. Anyways, moving along, then the SmackDown women's title match we're going to talk about next. Charlotte Flair defending her belt versus Ronda Rousey. Now, this match, I was expecting a pretty good match. Charlotte, she's probably the most athletic woman on the roster in the WWE right now. And Ronda Rousey, she can go in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Former UFC women's champion, the biggest draw in women's fighting history. And I don't think that's arguable. I think numbers show. Unless somebody could prove me wrong. I don't know if Amanda Nunes or Doug Rose or anybody like that, surpassed Ronda Rousey's numbers for being a bigger draw in the UFC than her. But we're talking about pro wrestling, and she can go in the ring as well. Ronda could perform as a pro wrestler, like, it's been proven before. But this match, it didn't, live up to my expectations, at least. I wasn't expecting, like a greatest of all time caliber matchup, but I expected more than that. It was sloppy. This match was sloppy, and the finish could have been better. Ronda Rousey was trying to hit a submission move, and then Charlotte counter, hit her with a big boot, and that was the end of the match, and Charlotte retained her SmackDown Women's title. It was like, man, apparently even Ronda was upset. Apparently she had an argument with Vince in the back, following the match. She was upset at how the match went with her and Charlotte. I don't know. I was expecting Ronda to win. She came back, won the Rumble. And, I'm saying, I thought, they would put the belt on Ronda, but I guess not. I give this match like a 2 out of 5, like 2.5 to be nice. But yeah, the crowd wasn't taking well to this match either. Anyways, moving along. Then the main event, the closer of day 1 to WrestleMania 38 was the KO show, the Kevin Owens show with special guest Stone Cold Steve Austin. I wasn't expecting a match, but that's what, they ended up having, a no-holds-barred match between Kevin Owens and the 57-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin, who hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania 19. And, No, I thought it was just gonna be them two talking shit, and Stone Cold Steve Austin ending up stunning Kevin Owens and drinking a beer, and that's a good way to close out the show in front of Stone Cold's home state of Texas for day one of WrestleMania 38. But no, they had a match and it went over 10 minutes. Um, Stone Cold's in good shape. He can still go. And Kevin Owens and Stone Cold's chemistry is great. They put on this. It was a great way to close day one of WrestleMania 38. They put on a good, entertaining match. It was a brawl type of matchup, and a workhorse like Kevin Owens. You get him in there with anybody, halfway decent. He's gonna make the match work, and you know what I'm saying. And he got in there with his idol. This was a good WrestleMania moment. You know what I'm saying, for not only the fans and everybody watching, but for Kevin Owens as well. And I'm pretty sure Stone Cold Steve Austin felt the same way. It felt good to get in there and whoop some ass. And Stone Cold won the match. Yeah, it's Kevin Owens is a full-time active wrestler on the roster like currently, while Stone Cold is a retired great who's doing his own thing outside of pro wrestling right now. He got his own podcast, his own shows. He got a whole lot of shit going on. But this was one of them feel good nostalgic moments that WrestleMania is known to showcase, and that's what it was. Now, anyway, moving along to day two of WrestleMania 38. The opening match of day two of WrestleMania 38 was a triple threat tag team match for the Raw's tag team title. RK Bro, the defending Raw tag team champions, taking on the challengers, Street Profits and Alpha Academy. This was a good opening matchup. Now, this is how you open a WrestleMania or any pay-per-view for that matter. There was some good spots in the match. The RKO from Riddle, boy, that was a spot. And RK Bro retained their tag team titles, picked up the win, and I give this match a good 3.5 out of 5. A high rating matchup. Then you had Gable Steveson, Olympic gold medalist, who's a signee to WWE. Apparently, he's supposed to be on the Raw roster. And he had a spot where he, faced off with a former Olympian, a fellow Olympian himself, Gable. And, they had a spot where, the babyface teams along with Gabe Steveson embarrassed him. It was a funny WrestleMania moment. I thought, that was cool or whatever. Then you had the second match to day two of WrestleMania 38. And I think that was for the, what was it? Give me a second here. It was Omos versus Bobby Lashley, the undefeated Omos, who was thrashing through the competition. The closing week of the road to WrestleMania, Bobby Lashley made his return, and he stepped up to Omos to challenge Omos, saying, yeah, you big and bad, but shit, it's the Almighty here. And yeah, this was them two together in the ring, two, gigantic, very strong figures, getting in there, that calls for a good match. It's like, it's the psychology of pro wrestling. It's like, you have two giants in the ring to go against each other, then it's like that pretty much sells itself. And plus Omos ain't a talker, and Bobby Lashley can't cut promos like that. That's why he has MVP by his side to be the mouthpiece. But there was no MVP as his manager for this match. This was a way to turn, I guess, Bobby Lashley babyface. This was a good match. It was well orchestrated. Omos had his spots to still make him look like a monster, making Bobby Lashley, not only does Bobby Lashley look like a cruiserweight compared to Omos, but the way how Omos was throwing Lashley around and made him, look very over as a monster. And, but however, Bobby Lashley hit like a suplex and he hit him with a spear to pick up the win, snapping Omos' undefeated streak. And hey, I think Bobby Lashley is the perfect guy to, end Omos' undefeated streak. I get this match like a 2.5 out of a 5. It was, mediocre, but no what? Let's be nice because they put on for, big men in there. The psychology was, well thought out for this match. They had some cool spots. I give this match a cool 3 out of 5. Bobby Lashley won, like I said, and the third match for day 2 of WrestleMania 38, Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Anything goes match. Now, I wasn't expecting much. This is what the second celebrity match that was on the card for WrestleMania 38. Stone Cold Steve Austin don't count as a celebrity act because he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the GOATs when it comes to pro wrestling. That being said, he's not a Logan Paul, Johnny Knoxville, or anything like that. He's a Legends act of WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? But then you had Johnny Knoxville, who made an appearance at Royal Rumble. They've been building this up. I thought, the storyline to Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn was quite funny. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm a fan of, how they built up Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. And we all know from Johnny Knoxville's days with Jackass, hey, he could take a bump. And he showed that at the Royal Rumble as well. And in this match as well, there were some cool spots. I said Logan Paul put on at day 1 of WrestleMania 38. But he's an athletic dude. He's a big built athletic dude. Johnny Knoxville, on the other hand, we know he could take bumps through his stunts and Jackass, and he showed that again in this WrestleMania 38. But he also had some, offense in as well. Mind you, this was an anything goes match, so Johnny Knoxville. They had segments in this match where Johnny Knoxville would outsmart Sami Zayn, have him running around the ring, pull out some weapons. This match was very well thought out. As much as all the smarks want to hate this match, a lot of people want to hate on this match, but you really couldn't because it was well planned out and it was entertaining. It was funny. It delivered its purpose, and the crowd took to the match very well. You had Wee Man pop out the ring when Sami Zayn was going for a weapon under the ring. You had Wee Man pop out, hitting him with combos, as if he's going on, putting in work on that heavy bag, looking like, mini Mike Tyson out there or some shit, you know what I'm saying? Then he even body slammed Sami Zayn, and the crowd went crazy for it. And then the, whole Jackass crew got involved, helping Johnny Knoxville pick up the win over Sami Zayn. He had pinned him to a rat trap, and then that's how Johnny Knoxville picked up the W. It was a funny, feel-good, entertaining matchup. I have no complaints about it. I give this match a cool 3 out of a 5. And the fourth match on the card to WrestleMania 38, Day 2, think was for the women's tag team titles, a fatal 4-way women's tag team titles match. The defending champions Carmella and Queen Zelina taking on the team of Naomi and Sasha Banks, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and Shayna Baszler and Natalya. This match was, it was alright. I'm saying, no disrespect, they just didn't have nothing for these girls to do at WrestleMania. So they threw them in there in the fatal 4-way match, and all these, 8 wrestlers, Carmella has improved very, very much so. Ever since, she been doing her thing. She's improved, as far as her in-ring skills go. She's improved, she, you know what I'm saying? She ain't just a pretty face. I could talk, you know what I'm saying? She's improved, to her credit. With that being said, all these girls, they can go in the ring. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, they pulled off a decent match. I give it a cool 2.5 out of a 5. You have the new women's tag team champions. I expected this. They by far are the two biggest stars in this match. I would say, it's either definitely Sasha Banks is the biggest talent out of these 8 women. Natalya is a veteran. We all know that. Naomi's been in there for a long time, but Naomi and Sasha are like the most over gals out of those 8. Or Rhea Ripley is a close second, if not Naomi. You get what I'm saying? But I expected Naomi and Sasha to pick up the win, and they did. So there you have it, your new women's tag team champions, Sasha and Naomi. Then the next match, Edge versus AJ Styles. Now this match was, a match that, most wrestling fans I say was looking the most forward to. Other than the Seth Rollins Cody Rhodes match, I think this match was the match that, most wrestling fans, like wrestling fans for real, was looking forward to. Edge and AJ Styles, both decorated veterans of the business. I thought Edge turning heel on Raw when he laid down that open challenge to anybody in the back, and AJ Styles stepped and accepted that challenge, and he turned on the WWE fans and became a bad guy. I thought this story was well built, man, and I'm digging Edge's new character that he's portraying on Raw. I like this new gimmick, and they put on a performance I expected them to put on in this match. For these two guys, their performance in the ring at WrestleMania 38, that was what I was expecting, exactly that. And however, the ending to the match is what I wasn't expecting. They had Damian Priest distract AJ Styles when AJ Styles was trying to hit his finishing move, the flying forearm. He didn't physically interfere in the match, but his appearance alone was enough for AJ Styles to get distracted, to buy Edge enough time to hit the spear while AJ Styles was bouncing off the top rope to try and connect his flying forearm, and Edge would reverse that into a spear, which was a cool spot, WrestleMania moment. It wasn't like, his spot at WrestleMania 17 where Jeff Hardy was dangling, hanging on to the tag belts, and he's coming off the ladder. You know what I'm saying? Edge is a guy in his 50s who came out of his retirement and now is wrestling again. And they put on a good match, in my opinion. I give this match a cool 3.5 out of a 5. And I thought, I think Damian Priest with Edge's new, kind of like dark gimmick that, he's taking on. I think Damian Priest is a good fit, and it's been rumored that Edge was going to start a new group, and I think Damian Priest fits right in. They ain't have him on, on the card. I thought, Damian Priest and other guys, who was left out of this 2-day WrestleMania card. Ever since WrestleMania 36, they've been putting on 2-day WrestleManias. That means there should be room for all their, talents that's not in the main event scene, especially guys in the mid card and the tag team divisions to have a spot on the card. But, they ain't have him on there. But I guess this was a way to fit Damian Priest onto WrestleMania. Anyways, moving along though. The next matchup for day 2 of WrestleMania 38 was Pat McAfee, the SmackDown commentator, one of the best kickers in NFL history, one of the most athletic kickers in NFL history. Pat McAfee taking on Vince McMahon's boy Austin Theory. Pat McAfee, man, if you see his clips from NXT when he was versing the Undisputed Era, he can go. And, he's been a lifelong wrestling fan. He's got his own, ring and training facility in his own home somewhere. Dude can go. Like I say, he's one of the best athletic, most athletic kickers in NFL history. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, you can go. He pulled off a spot, where he fucking, you know what I'm saying, just fucking exploded and fucking jump from the canvas all the way to the top rope. He's got hop, you know what I'm saying? And he caught Austin Theory from the top turnbuckle and suplexed him off, and he picked up the win over Austin Theory, which I thought, and it was fair and square how he picked up the win. And like I said, Pat McAfee, he can go. Austin Theory, he can go as well. So they put on, a decent match. I thought, this was fitting for a WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? You letting Pat McAfee get his moment, WrestleMania moment. He's a commentator every week on SmackDown. Um, a lifelong wrestling fan. I think it was well deserved, and I think he proved himself on NXT back 2 years ago that he can actually wrestle. But him picking up the win over Austin Theory, who's in the mid card scene, trying to challenge for the U.S. title, you know, that's bad booking in my opinion. Um, and then to make it worse, you had Mr. McMahon, who's 76 years old, come in after the match and pick up a win over Pat McAfee, who defeated a in prime Austin Theory. Shit, I mean, you had interference from Austin Theory, but like, come on now, like, he threw a football at him. I thought that was a wasteful spot. Like, in my opinion, the better way to book it is if Mr. McMahon, came to, fake congratulate Pat McAfee for beating Austin Theory, his boy, and Austin Theory hits him from behind, and then Vince joins in to attack, Pat McAfee to aid Austin Theory. Then Stone Cold comes out, which he did anyway after Mr. McMahon pinned Pat McAfee, and he stunned everybody. He stunned everybody after, his win at day one. He made another appearance on day two and stunned Austin Theory. Then Mr. McMahon, in probably what was the worst stunner of all time, he kicked him in the gut. Vince McMahon was struggling to stand up, trying to sell a gut kick. And he bounced off the rope, and then that stunner was floppy, boy. Then, he would invite Pat McAfee to the ring to celebrate with him, have a drink with, have a Steve Weiser with Steve Austin, and, Austin doing what Austin does best. And, while Pat McAfee celebrating, drinking, thinking, he's having a drink with, one of his, favorite wrestlers of all time, then boom, stunner. And Pat McAfee, man, he's charismatic, man. Not only can he go and perform in the ring as a wrestler, but he's got the charisma, he's got the personality to be a superstar, like, for real. And while he was, laid out on the floor outside the ring, he's still sipping his little Steve Weiser while, he's recovering from that stunner he received. I thought that was golden. Anyways, though, moving along. I forgot to mention the triple threat Raw Tag Team title match was the opening match, but the opening to WrestleMania 38 Day 2 was Triple H, who recently announced his retirement from, in-ring competition, giving out a speech, getting the crowd hyped up for Day 2 of WrestleMania 38. I thought, was brilliant. Anyways, this match I forgot to mention. I don't even know why it was on the card to WrestleMania. It was less than 2 minutes. It was only like a minute match. I'm talking about Ridge Holland and Sheamus taking on the New Day. The New Day being one of the best tag teams in the most recent history of pro wrestling. Period. I really like their group, the New Day, man. They've been putting on for, for some time now, and as y'all know, Big E, he had that scary fall where he looked like he broke his neck, but thank goodness he didn't. There was that spot like a month or two ago where Ridge Holland would do a belly-to-belly overhead suplex where Big E took a bad landing on his neck. That took him off TV. And Xavier Woods, after he won King of the Ring and became King Woods, he had his, Achilles injury, Achilles tendon injury or something like that. Then he came back to, help Kofi out with the New Day's feud with Sheamus and Holland and Butch, who was Pete Dunne, by the way. I don't know why they decided to change his name and give him this spark plug out of control gimmick. But like I said, this match between the New Day and Holland and Sheamus was only like a minute, and the New Day jobbed out. Like, I don't get it. Like, I get it. Sheamus is, one of the workhorses in the WWE right now, a veteran, a well-decorated veteran in the current scenes of WWE, and he's working with, Ridge Holland, who's coming up from NXT. Then you got Pete Dunne, aka Butch, in there as well. But to squash one of your best tag teams in its most recent history at WrestleMania in less than a minute is like, that's kind of crazy to me. I don't even know why it was on the card, and to have him buried like that, like, I thought it was a bad look. Anyways, that that leads me to the main event, to WrestleMania 38, and that is the biggest showdown, the biggest matchup in WrestleMania history. Winner take all. The WWE Champion Brock Lesnar versus the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. I think he's tied, not tied. He is sixth place for the longest reign in WWE Championship history. He surpassed, CM Punk's reign. He's well over that. He's heading on to his second year as a champion now. And Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. This was their third time getting in the ring to face each other at WrestleMania. They face each other three times now at WrestleMania, and they advertise this as the biggest matchup of all time. I get it now because, previously, Paul Heyman was by Brock Lesnar's side. I like how they had Paul Heyman, to build up this match, playing the middle ground. Brock Lesnar made his return at SummerSlam, and they've been, building this up ever since then. And then they had a match at Crown Jewel as well for the Universal title, and then you had Paul Heyman play a factor into that match as well. Then at the Rumble, that's where Paul Heyman decided to go with Roman Reigns instead of Brock Lesnar, when it looked like Roman Reigns made the decision for Paul Heyman to go with Brock Lesnar, but it was all a part of cahoots. But this was a very well built story. It wasn't like their two previous matchups at WrestleMania, where Roman Reigns was the clean babyface. This time he's a tribal chief, the head of the table. Roman Reigns, I'm saying, who's having a 500 plus days of being champion, who's been looking unstoppable ever since, he came back at the summer of 2020. And yeah, he's been unstoppable since then. And his reign continued as he defeated Brock Lesnar with a clean finish. There was some dirty play during the matchup. He hit Brock Lesnar with a low blow and a title, but kicked out anyways. And then Lesnar put on a Kimura. It looked like it was real. Cause you see it following the match, after the match, you see Roman Reigns' bicep. It looked like it's gonna fucking blow out. That shit was swell as shit. And however, Roman Reigns was able to reach the ropes. While I was watching it, I thought he grabbed the ropes on some legit shit. But during the replay, the commentators pointed out as well, oh, Paul Heyman pushed the ropes a little bit so Roman Reigns could grab the rope for a rope break. And then while Brock was trying to hit the F5, Roman Reigns would get off his shoulder, bounce off the ropes, hit the spear, and get a clean win. And I thought that was a great way for Roman Reigns to pick up the win. And there was some dirty play throughout the match, but that's your classic heel shit. Roman Reigns, he ain't only did that to Brock. I'm saying, that's what comes with being a bad guy, especially at a top level that Roman Reigns is at. But this, continues Roman Reigns' hot streak. Now he's the new undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Now I guess this is it for the brand split within the WWE. Y'all know, since the budget cut, the WWE has been releasing talent left and right, so I guess they don't got enough room on their roster to have a legit brand split. With that being said, man, I want to see how Roman Reigns, we already know, he's been on a hot streak. Guess it's just going to continue as, a undisputed champion this time. And, I guess, him being champions of both WWE and the Universal titles, that, leaves more room for more challengers, more rivalries for Roman Reigns to take on to defend the undisputed title. on both Raw and SmackDown. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna do that brand split anymore. I don't think they could do that anyway. So, I think this should be a good thing. You know, you have more guys that could come at Roman Reigns to try and take that title off of him. But overall, man, this WrestleMania, it was advertised as the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. To me, it was entertaining. You know what I'm saying? But has there been better WrestleManias in the past? Absolutely, absolutely, without a question. Was this one of the best WrestleManias of all time? No. It served its purpose though. It was, that's my overall thoughts on this year's WrestleMania. It served its purpose. It was fun. It was entertaining. The celebrities did its part. The legends did their part. Well, there was only Stone Cold Steve Austin that was, active for this year's WrestleMania. That's, part of the Legends Act. But, it was a fun show. But on the other side, it has me questioning WWE's future. Because it's like, yeah, you have Roman Reigns who's on a hot streak. By far, this is his best run in his career. I've been a fan of Roman Reigns since his Shield days, and his run as the big dog, the baby face. I thought, he was good then. In ring wise, I just thought he needed, improvements on his mic skills and his charisma and personality and all that. But, that's fixed because he's, playing his actual self more now. You got Paul Heyman, by his side, and the Bloodline as well by his side. So yeah, Roman Reigns, he's got the WWE on lock right now. But then you still have some good talent in WWE. Cody Rhodes made his return, but he's entering his 40s, and hopefully WWE uses him right this time and push him to the main event scene. Then you have Seth Rollins. Then you have Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, one was in there with a legend. Kevin Owens' inspiration is Stone Cold. His finishing move is the stunner. Like, I'm sure that's a WrestleMania moment that he's gonna hold dearly. And Sami Zayn getting in there with Johnny Knoxville ain't a bad thing at all, because celebrity's been a part of WrestleMania since it's been implicated. That's like Roddy Piper, who's also never won a WWE title, just like Sami Zayn was in there with Mr. T at WrestleMania. So does that take away from Roddy Piper's legacy because he never won the title in the WWE and had a match with a celebrity at WrestleMania? No, so this don't bury Sami Zayn. He got enough talent to make their product interesting and entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it's going to be like the Golden Era. I'm not saying it's going to be like the Attitude Era. Hell, it's not even going to be like the Ruthless Aggression Era. But WrestleMania, ever since WrestleMania 36, they've been putting on 2-day WrestleManias. And that should give a opportunity for damn near everybody on the roster to be a part of WrestleMania. Because back in the days, like, you look at, everybody's favorite WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 17. Other than the Legends Battle Royal, they didn't have a celebrity match at WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 20 is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time as well. Probably my favorite WrestleMania of all. From top to bottom, it wasn't as good as 17, but WrestleMania 20, one of my favorite manias of all time, didn't have any celebrity matches. WrestleMania 21 also, it was Hollywood. WrestleMania 21 goes Hollywood. They didn't have a celebrity match other than Big Show and the sumo wrestler. You know what I'm saying? And back then it was 4-hour events. It wasn't 2-day events like how they have it now. And every title, from my memory, it was defended. The Intercontinental title and the U.S. title, even the Cruiserweight title was defended back then. Like, that being said, like, it being 2 days now, there should have been a U.S. title and an Intercontinental title on the card as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those two champions should have been featured on this year's WrestleMania card. The Intercontinental title, one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling, period. It hasn't been defended since WrestleMania 37. Like, that's a shame. Like, that really is a shame that the Intercontinental title has not been defended since last year's WrestleMania. Like, Ricochet, I don't know how old he is, and for him to hold the Intercontinental title, right? And he was jobbed out on the closing show to the Road to WrestleMania on Raw. He defended his Intercontinental title against Garza and Humberto on SmackDown before WrestleMania. It was like, okay, like, you couldn't at least have that match on WrestleMania on a 2-day event. Like, I guess they just couldn't fit that into, a 2-day WrestleMania. Finn Balor, he's like in his 40s. He wasn't featured at WrestleMania at all. Like, he lost to Madcap Moss for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. And the U.S. title, one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling history as well, wasn't featured on this year's WrestleMania either. And I feel like, they're diminishing the mid cards in the WWE right now. And like I said, the WWE has been, releasing its talent left and right, like very frequently in the past 2 years. I guess due to budget cuts, but I think I heard that the WWE is gaining more profit than ever. I don't know what's going on as far as financially, but you know what I'm saying. I think there was more talent back in the days, and they were being used right, and being featured on every. I get it, it's different times, but it's like they at least everybody on the roster had a purpose. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could have the jobbers on the jobbers with a quotation mark. I say that with all due respect. On the card, like for like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or something like that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, at least they've been all these guys and gals, they put it on the line for WrestleMania, like, and they've been working their ass all year to get to WrestleMania, and to not have them featured, and what I'm saying, like, all the top guys I mentioned just now, right? Like, and I think Finn Balor should also be up there as well. You look at, okay, other than Roman Reigns, he's out the picture because they have him used right on their programs. But then you look at Cody Rhodes, about to enter his 40s. Hopefully, like I said, they utilize him to his full potential, push him to the top. Then you also have Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, who's been, rumored to retire very soon. Edge, who's, a part-timer just like Brock Lesnar, entering his 50s, who came out of retirement. Damian Priest, he's just like, Finn Balor. He wasn't featured on the card. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they, let go of a lot of, NXT guys. Shinsuke Nakamura, he's one of the, more endeared wrestlers and one of the best in-ring workers, charismatic as well. He ain't been used right since, he made his debut with the WWE. All these guys that came up from the NXT ranks, they ain't been utilized right when they, jump to the main roster. It's like, that's what has me, questioning WWE's future. Other than that, this WrestleMania, I rate it. I'll give it like a cool 6.5 out of 10. It was past mediocre. It was fun. It wasn't like it was shit. It wasn't like, what, WrestleMania was pretty shit. Like, where the Miz and John Cena was the main event. Was it WrestleMania 27? I believe so, yeah. It was WrestleMania 27. And WrestleMania 27, I watched that live and, it was alright. But, you know, that's what, this year's WrestleMania, like, kind of was like to me. Like, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I get it. Roman Reigns got this new character now. I praised him enough already, but you have Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar 3 times at WrestleMania. That goes to show you how lackluster of a scene, especially up in the main event. The mid cards is out the question now, but the main event scene, it goes to show you that they're lacking when it comes to the top guys in, in in WWE right now. Gonna have the same main event at WrestleMania 3 times. The same Rock versus Austin. They don't got that same like hype and that build up and that rivalry behind it. Anyways, man, that's just me being a critique. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, WrestleMania 27. Let me not even knock it like that, cause like when I watch it live, like I thought it was it was alright. It was fun when I watched WrestleMania 27, and that's the type of feel that I got from this year's WrestleMania. But I rated it a little bit higher than 27 because Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, both titles being on the line was a lot more of a main event than the Miz versus John Cena for the WWE title with The Rock being the special guest host. And I don't recall too much highlights from WrestleMania 27, but WrestleMania 38 was like, man, it was better than WrestleMania 36. WrestleMania 36, you had, cool matches like, Edge versus Randy Orton, which was like it was an entertaining match, especially for a comeback match for Edge. And you had Undertaker's last match versus AJ Styles, which was well edited. It was like one of those Bray Wyatt versus John Cena, funhouse matches, but it was put better. Was it better than WrestleMania 37? In ring wise, no. Like as far as like actual wrestling, I thought last year's WrestleMania had better wrestling matches than this year's WrestleMania, but WrestleMania 38 was a better put together show than that. WrestleMania 35, however, I thought was better than this year's WrestleMania. You had Kofi Kingston winning the title, and that was a feel good moment. And yeah, you also had better matches on WrestleMania 35, and um, I don't think and WrestleMania 30 was for sure better than this year's WrestleMania as well. Like just pure wrestling wise, like what I'm saying, not to sound too smarky, there there's been better WrestleManias. Like I said, WrestleMania 35 was better. Last year's WrestleMania put on better matches. But like I said, it was a very well put together show. It was a entertainment spectacle, and WrestleMania 38 served the WrestleMania purpose that WrestleMania is known to put on, and yeah, and I rated it above average. So I ain't being too negative. I ain't, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, that does it for this long ass review for WrestleMania 38. I mean, it's obviously going to be a long ass review because it's a 2-day event. Anyways, y'all, that does it. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are for WrestleMania 38. Comment, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, man. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'm out, y'all. Peace.